Shuls. I'm an assistant professor at the University of Missouri St. Louis in educational leadership and policy studies. Although I'm here today on my own behalf, not on behalf of my university or any other organization I'm affiliated with. So my testimony is sort of two parts today. One is as a parent, and then one is as a professor who teaches school finance. So I'll start with the school finance part, because I think it's the boring part, and I'll close with what I think is the more compelling part. So on the school finance piece, I just want to tell you your fiscal note is wrong. Right? The fiscal note you have says that this program is going to cost the state money. And I'm glad to see that your fiscal note has finally started to try to account for savings, but it has not done it accurately. It's not done it adequately. So the funding formula, which I teach to my students and one of the principals and superintendents, is very simple. It's just multiplication and some subtraction. And all you have to do is change some numbers, and you see how the formula changes. All right, so what you're doing when you take a student who gets one of these scholarships and they leave the public school system and they go to a private school, so they're transferring out of what you are currently funding to a system which is funded through these tax credits, what you're doing is removing one digit, right? Taking one number out of the WADA figure, the weighted average daily attendance, in the calculation. So essentially what I'm trying to say to you is that every time a student leaves, you're saving at least the state adequacy target, which is around $6,200. On top of that, many of the students who are going to be served in this program are getting more than the state adequacy target, because the formula which you have devised, the state adequacy target, is multiplied by a multiplier for cities that have a higher standard of living. Right, so in St. Louis and Kansas City and the surrounding areas, those districts, those schools get more than the state adequacy target. And most of the students in this program would be eligible for this, would be in those places. So the figure would actually be higher, okay? And many of the students might be free or reduced price lunch, which is weighted higher. They might be IEP students, which is weighted as 1.75. So take that $6,200 and multiply it by 1.75. So what I'm trying to get across to you is a fiscal note that you have does not accurately account for all the potential savings in this program. As you heard, part of the reason that we see savings in other states is not just because that you are saving funds, but also because the scholarship dollars are less than those adequacy targets. So right now, if a student leaves the state and they have they're a free reduced price lunch, they have an IEP, and they're limited English proficiency, you're spending over $16,000 for that pupil. Over $16,000. And now they're going to get a scholarship that is $6,200 or less, depending on how that scholarship is awarded. So the point that I'm trying to get across again, is your fiscal note is wrong. It doesn't account for savings, and these programs almost always generate cost savings for the state. The second piece that I want to get across to you is as a parent. I have 4 kids. I'm located in the Wentzville School District, which is a great school district, fully accredited by the state, and I don't like it. Right? And I say that because on all of your metrics for accountability, you say this school district is great. But I go into the school this year when my first grade son was going to school there, and it was curriculum night. And on curriculum night, they explained to me what my child was going to be learning. I'm a former public school teacher. I taught first grade. My wife is a former public school teacher. And everything they said was like my wife described it as a facepalm over and over again. They weren't teaching our children in the way that we wanted them to teach. And so they asked if anybody had questions at the end. And of course, I raised my hand. I had the first question. And my question was, can you tell me the best book my child will read this year? What's the best book my child will read or be exposed to this year? And they went down the line, and all of their answers were essentially whatever he likes. He's going to read so many books this year. He might like books about dragons or knights. He might like books about Tonka trucks or whatever it is. He's going to read so many books. I went home that night and I called up the local classical academy that has a classically structured curriculum, and I asked that principal, what's the best book a first grader will read this year? And she said, I'll take that question one of 2 ways. What's the best book I hope he can read, and what's the best book that we'll read to him? In terms of the best book that he could read, I hope by the end of the year he's reading some condensed Aesop's fables. These books with really rich moral tales. Books like The Boy Who Cried Wolf. In terms of what we're going to read to him, we were going to read Charlotte's Web. We're going to read it. She listed off a series of books. I'll tell you right now, my son is now in that school. We pulled him out. We're paying for it ourselves. They're now reading aloud snippets of the Iliad. Right? They're reading Homer. My son has memorized the Gettysburg Address. He's reading great works of Western literature, and it is exactly the type of education that I want. So you ask, there's a fiscal side of this that's important, but there's also the personal side. That's what this program does. It allows parents to get the type of education that fits them, that aligns with their values and what they view as quality. I view the school that I now have 3 of my kids in as a wonderful fit. I still have one daughter going to the public school, not because I love her less, but because it fits her. That's what this bill is about, allowing parents to choose the type of program that's going to meet their needs. And the good news for you is that you get to do it at a fiscal savings to the state. Not to mention the potential savings that comes from the school district or the reduction in class sizes when students leave. So thank you very much for this, and I'm welcome to take any questions.